Everybody, I gave birth to this baby.
No, you did not.
I take credit.
Welcome back, Camily. Today, we are going to tell you guys the story of Delilah Rose's birth.
How things unfolded from start to finish.
May 14th, 2020.
So it starts off, normal day, sunny sky.
Yep.
Wake up, Cameron's in the bathroom peeing.
No, that's not where it started. Go
I'm
back.
just kidding.
You weren't there for this part. So. I wake up feeling like a normal day. At this point in my pregnancy, I am 39 weeks and a few days, and for about the past week, I had been wearing adult diapers. When you have that much weight on your bladder, you really just lose control over it, and sometimes you pee yourself. So I've been wearing them just in case, and also you never know when your water's gonna break. So yeah, woke up, Landon went to the store to go get some food, and that was at about 9 o'clock. So while he was at the store, Cleo was still asleep, by the way, she was sleeping in, this is so embarrassing, I wet my diaper. I thought I peed myself, which was a pretty normal occurrence at this point. By the way, disclaimer if it's not obvious already, this video is going to be very TMI. There's a lot that goes into giving birth that's just really natural, but at the same time very gross at times. So if that's nothing you want to hear about, don't watch this video. We're just starting off and I'm like, so I thought I peed myself. I noticed I was uncomfortably wet, and it didn't feel like I didn't make it to the bathroom. It just felt like I couldn't control it. I didn't have any kind of say in the matter. And being that previously in my pregnancy I had gone all the way to the hospital and thought my water broke and got a test done just to be told that I peed, I definitely wasn't thinking, oh, my water just broke as the very first thing. But it was quite a bit more than usual, and it was more of a slow thing. It wasn't just all at once, it just kind of kept happening. So I was just if this was my water, I feel like I'd be having contractions, and I'm not having any kind of contractions. So it can't be my water, right? Wrong. So I just cared about my day. I wasn't feeling any kind of pain, contractions. I just felt perfectly fine. I don't know if that's normal, but I expected when my water broke to be in a ton of pain and already super far into my labor, which apparently I was. I just don't think I was feeling anything.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well, because when you had Colette, apparently you were...
Yeah, I was dilated to a 5 and I had no idea. So yeah, I just kind of ignored it. I didn't even tell Landon about it. He came home with my cinnamon bun and we were just hanging out in bed, talking, and then all of a sudden I had a really strong contraction. And I was like, oh my gosh. But at that point, I was having a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions. Like I said, I was pretty far in my pregnancy. I was really close to my due date, and it was just normal for me to have contractions. They weren't usually that strong, but I didn't think anything of it really.
Because you knew you were getting ready to give birth. So.
Yeah, I just thought my body was kind of preparing itself. But every single time I'm having any kind of contraction, Landon's like, do we need to go to the hospital? So of course he asked me if we need to go, and I'm like, no, it's just Braxton Hicks again. No need to freak out. But then I had another one right after, and it was another really strong one, but I still just didn't really think much of it. Again, nothing super out of the ordinary. And then I kind of felt pressure with that next contraction, almost a pushing feeling. So I'm maybe I'll try to go to the bathroom. So I do, and then when I wipe, there is blood. And that, along with the painful contractions, I kind of knew. I was piecing it together in my head. I'm like, okay, maybe that was my water, and then this is my mucus plug, which is kind of the cervix.
Is that what that was? Is that the technical term?
Yes, my mucus plug fell out. I was like, okay, it's time. This is it. And then so Landon was actually in the bathroom with me, just kind of hanging out while I was peeing. And so yeah, I wipe and I just show him, and I don't even say anything. I'm just
well, yeah, obviously if you're bleeding, that's okay, we gotta go now, as fast as possible.
And I'm really glad I had that sign, otherwise I probably would have waited a little bit longer, which would not have been good. And my contractions, like, just go from 0 to 100. Like, they're so bad. And it's still so crazy to me. Like, I wasn't feeling anything, and then I'm feeling, like, the most painful contractions ever within minutes. With Colette, I never really felt my contractions, and so that was really my first time experiencing real contractions, and oh my gosh, do they hurt. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, I'm just going into labor. I did not expect at that point to be super dilated at all. So I was like, this is just the beginning. Like, it's already really, really painful. Like, I wonder how dilated I am, because if I have to do this for, like, several more hours, like, all day, I might need that epidural. So yeah, you know how Landon is. The second I tell him that we're actually going, he's like sprinting all around the house.
That's basically what I did. So I just basically like started gathering everything that I knew that we had created a list for and just put it in the car.
Yeah.
But at the same time trying to keep my composure. First thing that I wanted done was the car to be ready. Yeah. So that we were able to get to the hospital as fast as possible.
We both just kind of had a long night the night before, so we did not get a lot of sleep. So I'm really proud of the way we just kind of pulled it all together. I'm trying my best to get ready too in between contractions, just like, you know, grabbing my makeup and my toothbrush and doing whatever I can and like reading off of my list, telling Landon what to grab. But when I'm having contractions, like in between that, oh my gosh, it was so painful. And of course Colette wakes up.
Yeah.
Right as I start like really being in pain. Colette's awake and she comes to my room and she's like, "Mommy, Mommy." And she sees me like screaming in agony. I was trying my best to keep it together and like not scare her, but she could tell something was up and she was not happy about it. And every contraction is just so much worse than the last one. I got dressed and I'm like, what the heck am I wearing? I'm not wearing this to the hospital. I told Landon to like get me an outfit and he hands me his boxers. So I'm just wearing these like Fruit of the Loom boxers and a crop top that literally like goes to here. So my whole belly's out. I'm wearing like boxers as shorts and I'm just like, I'm not like what? I just like got dressed, not even questioning it. And I just look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm not showing up to the hospital like this.
You're just getting ready as fast as possible.
Yeah, so I put on a t-shirt dress because I'm like, that's easy. So we spent about like 30 minutes just kind of getting out of the door. I realized just as we're going out the door that I hadn't taken my 39-week bump picture yet, because I've been taking a picture every week of my pregnancy to show how much my belly has grown. I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be the last one. Like, I need to take my last picture with my bump. So, like, literally in between contractions, I stand in front of our door and take my last picture, and then we head out. And at this point, I'm really starting to feel a lot of pressure. Getting into the car and, like, sitting down in that position was the last thing I felt like doing. I expected to just kind of want to lay there in agony when I was in labor, but I really just wanted to be sitting up. Like, every single contraction I had, like, I sat up and I wanted to like lean forward and have Landon rub my back. But yeah, we're in the car, we're leaving, and that's really the first time that we like sit down and are like, okay, like we're actually doing this. Like, we made it, we're in the car, and it's like real.
Yeah.
So we're just like talking and Landon's just like encouraging me and telling me, you know, it's all gonna be worth it, and like in less than a day we're gonna have our baby, and you know, just trying to get me excited rather than just focusing on the pain. So he's just talking me through these contractions as he's driving, and of course he's going so fast trying to get me there. And in the 15-minute drive to the hospital, I definitely went from like, okay, I'm in labor. By the time I got there, I'm like, I need to get this baby out. Like, I need to push. They just got so painful in that 15 minutes, and just the pressure like kept building, and I was just like, it's happening. Like, I literally said in the car right before we got there, I'm like, I already know I'm gonna get there and they're gonna tell me I'm at least dilated to an 8.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way it's this painful and I'm not that dilated. And I knew that I dilated fast because that's what happened with Colette. I didn't expect to dilate that fast. Like, literally within 30 minutes of like actually feeling my contractions, I'm like out of 10. So yeah, we get to the hospital finally. We whip around.
I like swooped into the valet like really fast, and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
And he saw me like literally holding onto the bar, like squatting, and I'm like, so yeah, I think, you know, he knew that it was a dire situation.
Yeah, so he just like pointed to the front door. He said, go,
He's
go.
like, yeah, go that way. And then we go right up to the front entrance and walk out. They get me a wheelchair. They check our temperature. Because of coronavirus, they checked everyone's like temperature and did a little screening for everyone who went to the hospital. And they gave us some masks. We don't even grab all the bags. We just grabbed the bag that we kind of packed that morning. Just all the stuff that we threw in as we were heading out the door. So I didn't have like, you know, my water bottle and my chapstick and everything I wanted for when I gave birth. But yeah, we head up the stairs in the wheelchair. At this point, I'm having a contraction like every 2 minutes. Like I can't even deal. And the desk lady, when we get at the desk, she's just being like so sloth-like. At least to me, it felt like time was moving in slow motion. I was like, oh my gosh, can we move this along? They had us sign like all these papers, and Landon's like, wait, what do I sign it? And he's like asking me all these questions, and then I'm just like, just give it to me, Landon. And I sign literally everything. I don't even read it. There's like a ton of boxes to tick, and I just like tick all the boxes and sign everything and just hand it to her, because I just wanted to get to my freaking room so bad to push that baby out. So we get past the front door, they bring us to the room, and before you go to the room that you give birth in, they put you in triage, and you just kind of get assessed there, and they really figure out how far you are in your labor and where you need to be put. And so we get there, and they're asking us all these questions, and I cannot even like speak and like answer these questions and talk to her. She's trying to ask me like how long I've been contracting for and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I can't even talk. So Landon's trying to like answer these questions.
I mean, everything's going through my mind. I'm trying to just listen to what the doctors are saying, because that's what Cameron wanted me to do, and making sure everything is going as she would like, and asking, you know, questions, making sure I am fully understanding everything that's going on.
Yeah, he was asking all the questions. So they do a swab to see if my water broke. At this point, I'm like, girl, I already know I'm in labor. Like, that's not a question. Mm-hmm. But I guess they need to, like, know for later on, because you can be really far in labor and not have it break yet. And then she went ahead and checked how dilated I was, which freaking hurts. Oh my gosh.
Did it?
I was squeezing the death out of you, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So yeah, she checks my cervix, and I am at a 10. And I knew I was going to be pretty dilated, but I did not think I'd be at like a full 10. At that point, like in a normal labor delivery where things progress at a normal speed, you know, that's kind of when like the doctor comes in and you start pushing. But I've been feeling that pressure for like a good while. So she asked me if I want to get an epidural at that point after she tells me I'm 10 centimeters. It takes about 30 minutes for an epidural to really take effect, from like the point where you're like, okay, I want one, and then the anesthesiologist has to come in and talk to you about it, and then the whole procedure of putting it in your back, and then it takes a second to kick in. So in total, it's like a good 30 minutes before you are pain-free. And I just knew I did not have the time for that. I mean, they were going to let me if I said I wanted it. But I'm like, they're going to stick it in my back and I'm going to push her out, and it's going to be useless because it's not going to kick in time. And I'd rather just do it unmedicated and then feel good afterwards and be able to walk around, rather than have it and it might not even work in time and then be numb all day. So I was terrified because obviously I was in a lot of pain, and if I had more time, I probably would have changed my mind.
Yeah.
I would have asked for that epidural, and, you know, I would have had a medicated birth. But now that I've done it, it's like I know that I could do it. So I don't know what I would do the next time. And at that point, Landon knew how much pain I was in, and I think he was kind of freaked out by the fact that I wasn't going to get an epidural.
Yeah, I was a little worried, but I knew that Cameron was tough. But still, on the inside, I was like, oh, I hope she's going to be okay. You know, I'm obviously trying to keep my composure, but I was really shocked at how I did, because, I mean, I was thinking just to keep positive, and, you know, my fear and anxiety wasn't so much there. Mm-hmm. As much as I thought it would be, because I knew I was just like, okay, I'm ready to see, you know, our baby. And so I was just trying to stay focused on everything that I needed to do.
And he just did so great, just like rubbing my back and holding my hand. Like, he was always just right there for me and just really encouraging and just spoke to me so kindly, but still like said what I needed to hear, especially as things like really started to progress. So then she leaves the room and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go get the doctor. And then right after she leaves, I just get this painful contraction, and I'm just like, I have to push. Like, there's nothing I can do other than push right now. Like, my body is forced to. Like, I can't hold it. I'm pushing. And I didn't really know that, like, it took a couple good pushes to get a baby out. I was just scared that she was gonna fly out. Like, the fact that I was pushing, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I need the doctor in here right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I started, like, screaming for help. I'm like, Landon, go get help, go get help. And he's like, I don't know, like, she just left. I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, help! And I start screaming. I'm like, help, I need help, please. And then they, like, come into the room, and they're like, all right, okay, we got you. We're taking you to the room. So they flip my bed up and, you know, get it rolling. Roll me down the hall to the room. And at this point, they're like, okay, we need to draw your blood, and we need to get your IV, and then you can push. I'm like, okay. So she, like, gets it all clean and ready, and I'm, like, just chilling, kind of in between contractions and about to, you know, have another one. So I'm like, okay, like, if you're gonna do this, you better hurry up. And then right when she's like, okay, I'm ready, and then I get another contraction, and we have to sit there and wait. And then so we're just sitting there waiting for my contractions to pass so they can stick needles in me. And then right when my contraction goes away, they try it on this arm to get my IV, and doesn't work out. So by the time they're done trying to do that arm, they move to the next arm, about to poke me again, and I'm like, okay, another contraction. So it just felt like we were waiting forever to just get the needles in me so that way I can push, because I just would not stop having contractions, and it's really hard to stay still. So they finally get my IV in. It took a second, and it took a few tries, but they got it. And then they had to draw my blood, and at that point, I was, like, so thirsty. I hadn't even sat down and eaten anything yet, so I'm, like, very little sleep, no food, no water, really. So I was, like, begging for a water.
She was.
I'm like, I need a water, please get me water. My mouth felt, like, so dry. So I got my water, and I really just, like, had a second to, like, pull myself together. I'm like, okay, I can do this, it's time. And then the doctor finally came in. It felt like ages that we were just waiting. I kept saying, like, I need to push. And they're like, the doctor's coming. Okay, just wait a second. So the doctor finally gets in, and they kind of start talking to me about, like, you know, how to push. I've obviously never pushed before. So they're kind of coaching me through it and just telling me what to expect. Like I said, they did an amazing job of just, like, making sure we both knew what was going on, knew what we needed to do, and just kept us really informed through the whole thing, which is something that I really appreciate. So she had me do a practice push, and she's like, okay, like, just push and, you know, feel it out. I'm like, I've kind of been pushing, but okay. So I do a practice push for her, and they have me, like, laying down, and like I said, I just really want to be sitting up and leaning forward, but they have me laying down to push, and they have me holding my legs. I should have done some more yoga before, because I had a really hard time, like, holding up my legs and, like, stretching like that. So it probably would have been good to do more stretches.
I helped you out a lot.
You did, though. He held my leg.
And then I knew it was, like, time. Like, it was just, like, really hitting me, and then all these, like, emotions were coming in. Like, oh, wow, this is, like, serious. Like, I'm really gonna see my baby. And I was, like, praying, like, hoping that everything was gonna go smoothly. How can I help her believe that she could do this, and just trying to be as much of an encouragement as I can for her.
I was just out of my body. I was closing my eyes the whole time. I feel like I didn't even see any of it. And, like, I couldn't even really hear anyone's voice but Landon. There was, like, so many people talking, but, like, Landon was just, like, right in my ear. And he was just, like, encouraging me, kind of, like, coaching me through my breathing, because I kind of had a hard time, like, doing anything but screaming at the top of my lungs. He was trying to get me to, like, breathe a little more. I remember, like, halfway through, I'm like, is she out? Like, it feels like she's, like, out. And they're like, oh, yeah, like,
Yeah.
she's out, pretty much. Like, you can feel her head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, can I feel her head? And I reach down, and I feel her little head. And I feel her hair. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh. Like, okay, I'm almost done. And that was, like, so encouraging, because I was like, I can't. Like, at that point, I was like, I don't know if I can push anymore. But then to, like, feel her head and know I'm just, like, so close, it just really motivated me to, like, keep going.
And so I'm looking over, and then I'm just like, oh my goodness, she's, like, almost here. Like, it's, like, just a rush of, like, emotions, obviously. Like, we're almost there. Like, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was, like, that's just such, like, a relief to see, like, her actually, like, coming out. Like, knowing that you're pushing, and, like, I'm seeing you, like, give it your all, like, your face is turning red, and, like, to see her head actually, like, start coming out, you know, we're getting somewhere, so, like, it gives you the encouragement, which is great. And so obviously she's like, okay, well, we could do this. Like, so she, like, gives it her all. Like, you can tell, like, she's, like, really trying.
So I push a really, really hard final push, and she comes out, and I was almost, like, shocked at the fact that it was over. Like, I did it, and I finally opened my eyes, and I see her for the first time, and she's just so precious and huge.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw Colette, you know, little 4-pound baby, I was surprised at how big she was for being 4 pounds, but she was, like, obviously really small. And Delilah is almost double Colette's birth weight. So, to see this giant baby that I just pushed out of me without any kind of pain relief, I just felt, like, amazed with what my body is capable of. And then, of course, just fell so deeply in love with her the second I saw her. She cried right away. And she's just so healthy and beautiful. And I just look up at Landon, and he's crying as well. And, you know, we're all just crying. And they put her on my chest, and I do skin to skin with her right away. And I'm just looking down at her, and I'm like, wow, I really just did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take her to go get her cleaned up and check her weight and everything. So Landon goes with her across the room when they do that. And meanwhile, I'm trying to deliver my placenta and finish what the doctors needed to do. That part really sucked. It really did. Her head coming out was the worst part of the whole thing, like the most painful. But afterwards, I just feel like so sore down there, obviously. And I feel like I'm done. I'm like, okay, I did it, I'm done, but I'm not done. And so I had to deliver the placenta. And then I just, like, am having a... She just pooped. I don't know if that was a poop or a fart. Diaper change time.
Oh my gosh. It's so much.
You're a pooper.
Oh my goodness.
She's so proud of herself. Look at her face.
She probably feels so much better. She's probably gonna pass out now.
Anyways, I'm just having a lot of bleeding, like more than normal, more than I should be, and they're just kind of pushing on my stomach, trying to get it all out, I guess. They end up giving me some medication to stop my bleeding, because I'm bleeding more than they'd like. And I can tell Landon's kind of freaking out at that point when he hears that, because, you know, the last thing we'd want is for me to lose too much blood. So he's like, what's going on? What does that mean? And they kind of explained to him, like, it's not that bad, but it is more than normal, and we're just going to try and stop it. So they gave me a needle in my leg, and then they put some stuff in my IV, and it seems like that helped, and I'm not bleeding as much. So that is good. But yeah, I did have a minor hemorrhage. Meanwhile, though, they weigh her. They tell me she's 8 pounds, 2 ounces. I was kind of in a lot of pain at that point, trying to deliver the placenta and everything, so I didn't even really hear that.
Yeah, I was over by there. I was, like, watching her, admiring her, taking pictures of her, making sure she's all good.
But yeah, after that, I get to breastfeed her for the first time, which was amazing. Breastfeeding was something I've always really wanted to do. She latched so good right away. Just latched right on there and ate for a good while. Mm-hmm. And after things kind of slowed down, we were just in that room for a little bit. about like 2 hours. And I had to pee so bad because, as I said, like right before, I was like chugging water because I was so thirsty. So after she came, I'm like, I gotta pee, and I'm really scared that it's gonna stink.
Yeah.
But luckily, I didn't tear at all, which is so surprising. Usually when you push a baby out that fast...
There's some kind of, like, even, like, small tearing.
Yeah. I didn't need any kind of stitches or anything like that.
No surgical glue.
I don't think they'd do that. I'm so glad, because that's something I was really scared of. Obviously, you want recovery to be as easy as possible, and it has been really great, especially compared to having a C-section. But yeah, so glad I didn't tear. But still, that first pee was really scary. But it wasn't that bad. It stung, but it wasn't that bad. And that is pretty much the story of how Delilah was born. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. I'm so lucky that it went by so fast. I was really only in a lot of pain for like an hour, and yeah, she just came like that. Like 1 second, I'm just hanging out, about to eat some breakfast, and an hour later, I'm pushing her out.
And the next day, we're home.
Yeah, it just went so smoothly, and I'm just so proud of myself. I was questioning whether or not I could do it. Days before she came, I was kind of thinking, like, maybe I should just have another C-section. I was talking to Lynn, and I was like, you know, at least I'd, like, know what to expect, and...
It would be scheduled, obviously.
Yeah. So I was kind of second-guessing myself, but I'm just so proud that I did it. I didn't really have much of a choice.
That's kind of, like, how the part plays, though. Like, you know, if it wasn't for the way it went, then...
I wouldn't have had an unmedicated birth probably, but I'm so glad I did. It was just such an amazing experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It hurt so bad, but it was worth it in the end. Just feeling all that pain, and then seconds later, like, meeting my daughter, it's just undescribable. To just go through that together, me and her, and just really feel out what my body needed to do, and to just really trust myself and push a baby out of me. Like, what? That's so insane.
And I'm so thankful. I just want to add this too, that I could be there to experience this birth. Mm-hmm. And it's very unfortunate that I wasn't there for you when Colette was born.
You did so good being there for me. I can't believe I did it without you with Colette, because during this experience, I'm like, I could not have done it without you.
Mm-hmm.
It was just such an incredible experience, like just having a baby with you.
Mm-hmm. I loved it.
And I know we're going to look back on this, and Delilah's going to be able to hear the story of May 14th, 2020, the day she was born.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a memory we're all going to cherish forever.
Of course.
Well, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and
we'll see you in the next video, Camly. Bye-bye.